Welcome back to the region of my carport on Back to the Past. I am Blair. We have gone from being way too wet to actually starting to be a little bit too dry. I'm having to water now my new grass here and my garden. There are still places on my property that is so swampy that I've got mowers stuck trying to get in there, but supposed to have some hot, humid, little precipitation weather for as far out as the forecast goes, so watering will be something that I'll have to do a lot more of. I am finally ready to start the timber framing portion of this carport job. I have set my post bases close to where they go. I'll go ahead and set them in place, finger tight, set up some string lines, measure distances between them to where I'm sure that I'm parallel in this direction. If I'm off just a little bit like this, that's not the end of the world, since the timbers are 22 feet long and my layout here is for 20 footers, so the timbers will actually overhang the post by about a foot on both sides. And what I got to thinking was, since that timber's long enough to do it, why not make the overall stretch of the carport being 24 feet in length, since you buy plywood in 8-foot lengths and it would just be cutting off 2 feet and wasting it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got plenty of shingles to do it being 24 feet in length. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the base plates. I now have everything sitting where I want it to be, so I'm ready for the final tightening, and boy have I got the tool for that. After that, I'll go ahead and shoot grade on everything so I know how long to cut the posts. I want the posts to be an average of about 6 foot 6 inches long, and that will give me clearance to at least get my tractor into the middle of it, probably all but the outside 2 or 3 feet on both sides. That has the post bases set. It has been getting really hot and humid here for the last week and a half or so. So what I'm doing is working pretty much in the shade in the mornings from like 6:30 a.m. till around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. And then I take midday to do my running around to town and any other chores that I might have to do inside. And then I'll come back out around 5:30 and work till dark. But time to shoot some grade. That has grade shot. I think I am finished, at least for a little while here. I have all the information I need now to be able to cut the posts to length. Everything is set to where I can go ahead and set posts once I do cut them to length. I'm going to end up doing some temporary corner bracing on as many as I have supports for, and then it'll be time to set that beam. Well, the most accurate way to cut these posts I'm finding is to use this. And it's a 12-inch diameter blade on it. It won't cut quite all the way through it. So what I do is cut most of the way through, flip it over, and cut the rest, and get a really nice clean cut on it that way. The blade that I've got on it, I had it sharpened a while back, but it's starting to get pretty dull. Things can get a little bit smoky cutting through it, but it manages. I've got to say that after everything I've had to do to get ready for this, this is really exciting for me. The first post now is set, and there is something really, really refreshing about that to me. That has the 3 posts up on this side and the beam ready to set. So I think I'll pull the trailer over here, get it closer, get this beam up on sawhorses right here. To finish getting that trailer unloaded, I'll probably set the other one over on the other side somewhere. And then I think I'm ready to start fabricating those beams to length. I've got the first beam cut to length. I mitered the bottom corners on both ends. I've got it laid out for the rafters, so I don't have to do that afterward. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge. I'd hope that my tractor would lift it high enough with the strap to set it in place, but it won't. So what I'll do, my first attempt anyway, will be to raise it as high as I can, drop the right end here, and try to lift the left end up on it, wrap a strap around that end temporarily, set it back down on a sawhorse on this side, then come and get the bucket under it with the tractor facing basically in line with the beam and lift it up from the bottom, because I do have enough height to do it that way. And then once I get it up high enough, I'm going to have to see if I can slide that heavy son of a gun over on the tractor to get it onto the post. Here goes. Okay, to update everything that I have been doing, and we'll take a look at each individual thing. First of all, that big mistake that I made in cutting that post short. I cut a new post, and I ended up finding a white oak log out there that I didn't have to waste too much on. I'd actually prefer white oak over red oak, so that is fixed. Now, I have set this beam, this morning I set this beam on this side, the south side that is, and looking at it is crowned up. The tops of the posts were actually just dead level, so this post has a crown in it, and it's also has a bend in it from end to end, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute and what I'm going to do to deal with that. Okay, back to the north side. Kind of hard to see with this wide angle lens on this little camera, but there is a bow in on the north side beam, and I purposely cut each of these from one side of the pith or the other, leaving the 2 inches, the 2.5 inch, I guess, pith that there was out of this to maximize the quality of the beam. But they are bowed in opposite directions, which is a good thing. That's going to be about the easiest thing to fix. We'll take a look at how I plan to do that. What I've essentially done is to build a truss that is the proper inside to inside dimension. I will go ahead and set that up just past the post. And in order to set that, what I will have to do is to throw the posts on the south side out of plumb to make that fit. Then I'll go ahead and get things back as close to plumb as possible. And I'll probably have to put a strap across each end, pull the two ends together in order to straighten everything out. And a lot of that bracing is going to have to be left on there for quite some time. Now, to deal with that problem of that crown in that beam, you can probably see the front wheels are off the ground right now, so I've got the full weight of the front of my loader, which it's not a very heavy-duty loader, so it may not be a lot, but I think what I'm going to do is bring my welder over here. It's 750 pounds, and I can just go ahead and hang that welder from that beam as long as I need to, and hopefully over time that crown will get pulled out of it. Something I've been asked a couple of times is, am I going to do a post and beam framing on this? And the answer to that is no, I'm not. I do want it to be, or do want it to appear as heavy construction. Maybe from a distance it does appear as post and beam framing, but it's really not. It's really conventional stick framing. On the two ends, when I do the trusses that I will home make out of rough sawn lumber from my sawmill, I think it should help to give it that post and beam appearance, or at least heavy beam construction. But if we get underneath it and look up, it's all going to be standard treated 2x4s and 2x6s, bolted connections and that sort of thing. Now, I did one job, and this has been 35 years ago, that was actually mortise and tenon connections with the wooden pins driven through the mortise and tenon connection. I actually had someone there helping me that knew what the heck they were doing with post and beam framing that I don't have now, and I really don't remember how it was done. So I don't want to go ruining these two huge beams that took so long to achieve in trying to do something like that. So everything here is bolted together, bolted or nailed. Now, the one thing that I am going to use are these T-plates on both sides of each connection, so a total of 12 of these. Now, right now, I can go ahead and do 10 of them. In fact, I've already got 2. I don't know if you can see it or not. I've already got 2 done. We'll take a closer look in just a minute at those. But that center post on this side, even with the welder hanging on there, I've still got probably 3/16 of an inch between the post and the beam, so that one I really can't do until I've got a tight connection. honestly, I may leave that welder there for quite some time to help take the tension out of that beam. Now, I think a huge mistake that a lot of contractors and an awful lot of homeowners or do-it-yourselfers make is in spending so much time being concerned about the finish appearance that they spend too little time in layout and making sure that everything is as it should be down here. Now I have this, and I'm rather a bit of a perfectionist in doing this, but I have this set very nearly perfectly in place right now, and that should make the framing up above a whole lot easier and the overall appearance at the end a lot better. Okay, as I've said before, the only thing that's holding these posts to the concrete foundation below, big huge bolt on the inside there, but just 8 nails, 4 on each side, really relatively close to the bottom of the post, only a couple inches of the way. Now, so far as movement this way or that way, 8 nails is more than sufficient. For uplift, I don't think it is. And the reason I say that in part is because posts will end up rotting on the lower half before they'll rot on the up half, because they get sunshine, they get moisture, a lot more moisture than what it does up high. So that's the point where it's going to fail if it is. Now this is something that is actually kind of unsightly. I went ahead and painted them. They're galvanized. I went ahead and painted them. But I'm going to, on the 2 center posts, put a strap on each side, and then I'll end up putting 1 strap on each of the corners too, just to help prevent that uplift. Like I said, it's unsightly, but not nearly as unsightly as a big wind coming up and having this thing laying upside down the hill here somewhere, or even worse, on top of my truck or my grandma's old car that's sitting here underneath. Everything is plumbed up and where it should be, so it's time for diagonal braces. And I went ahead and got all of these cut and drilled. I waxed the ends to where I'll minimize whatever splitting there's going to be, and I realize there's going to be some. So they're all drilled and ready to go up on the post. So far as putting them up on the post, I went to Lowe's last night, looked for a long 5/16 bit. They didn't have any 5/16 bits, hardly. I ended up finding one that's probably too short, but I'll use what I got. So what I'm doing is I'm just sticking a small screw in both the bottom and the top to kind of hold it in place while I drill it. Having to hold that darn thing up there and drill at the same time really isn't working out. So hopefully this helps. I am leaving that slightly slack because I still have 1/8 of an inch to make up on that center post, and having this tight will just make that all that much harder. I'll go ahead to the other end and do the same thing, and then I'm going to have to try to pull that center down and get it all tied off. Everything has its permanent bracing in an east-west direction, but nothing at all in a north-south direction. The north-south will be taken care of once I get these end trusses up and bracing across those, and it really won't be totally done until the roof is sheathed. That means that any bracing that there is on there right now will stay on there until all the structural sheathing is done. As for my welder, that's a wonderful alternate use for about 750 pounds. Actually, it's not in my way. I just have to store it elsewhere. So until it gets in my way or I need it elsewhere, that welder's going to stay right there. I think that even without it there, the post nothing was trying to move, but I want to make sure that it doesn't. So the welder stays there for now. That's it for this episode. I'm really happy that you were here with me. The next one could take quite some time because I haven't even started the design work, and I do want 2 heavy trusses, one on each end, so that to give this that heavy timber look. I may not be back for a few weeks. I've gotten way behind on doing chores around here, and those trusses are going to take some design before I can even start them. Have a good day. Thank you for being with me. Goodbye.